I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
I knew it. I love when he does that.
Wrestling has more than one royal family.
Gentlemen, in my soul, something, something, Cody Rhodes. I'm the tribal chief around here. Yeah, you see me, the tribal chief. That's right.
Time. But let me go ahead and tell you.
Shut your bitch ass up.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 462 of the Hoots Podcast here on this Friday, April 25th, 2025. It's yours truly, the nefarious Brother Adam, a.k.a. Joshie Lopez here, as I'm recording from the south side of Chicago, Illinois. Today, lots to get to. We got a WrestleMania weekend to recap, stand and deliver, some other things that need to be addressed, some elephants in the room. Now I'm talking about myself. I do apologize in advance for anybody that's watching or listening to the pod this week if I come off honorary or my language is not as professional this week, but it's like I've had about a week to sit back and kind of take in all the pontifications and everything that took place in Vegas this past weekend for WrestleMania. And normally I record the podcast on the Thursday, but I needed this time to really take a step back and take in everything that I've seen, good, bad, and different, and it's just like, it's the same stuff that I've been pointing out and exposing on this podcast since we started doing this show back in 2016. And now with the fact that I'm on my way out of the wrestling podcasting game, I really have nothing to lose at this point, and frankly, I don't give a shit if what I have to say bothers the IWC at this point. I just gotta be upfront and honest with you guys, because a lot of you come off like a bunch of crybaby sissies this week, and I just have to be honest. Like I'm on my way out. And when I started this podcast back in 2016, I was pointing out the nonsense that was going on, that was taking the enjoyment out of wrestling. And the same thing is happening 9 years later, and it's pathetic. We are doing more damage to the industry and the future of it than what you think creative is. And you don't even realize it. We can talk about The Rock. We can talk about Triple H, we can talk about TKO, we can talk about so many things that really don't matter at the end of the day. It always has to go from 0 to 60 when it comes to professional wrestling fans. And a lot of these times when you try to like put your feet on the ground and you have a stance about something, whether you liked it or didn't like it, more times than not, especially if you hear a podcast like this or a video show or a live stream reaction in the clutch, or the Observer, etc., etc. I'll tell you what, I'm in the spirit here, as we go here, I will give a shout out to the one rational person that I heard review WrestleMania this week, and that was Wheezy Blonde. All you other motherfuckers that were like, oh, the sky is falling, Triple H is nothing like Vince McMahon. The only person that I've heard rationally have a rational conversation and I can understand her point of view of certain things was her. Everybody else was creative this, booking that. Everybody has the answers to everything. Everybody thinks they have the pencil that answers everything in professional wrestling. And it's like, like I said on Sunday, and there was a reason why I put those Star Wars GIFs on my page before that match with Cody and John Cena, and I did it for a reason, and it's a test, because if last year was finishing the story, right, a new hope in the Star Wars world, especially for Cody Rhodes, who's a big Star Wars fan, right? Here we are going to the Empire Strikes Back, with now things are up in the air. Cody looked at John Cena as the hero, and he got bit for it. You know, he lost his championship. I'm not going to review the match right now, but the gist of this is that I kind of knew that by the end of Night 2 of WrestleMania, that it was not going to be some hunky-dory feeling. Because it's not supposed to be. Not every WrestleMania has to end feeling like it's the freaking end scene of the Avengers War Game. Or Lord of the Rings. Or whatever the hell action movie or fantasy land thing you want to come up with. You know, it's not like the X-Men, right? That's another popular one. Or Deadpool. Like, it's not always hunky-dory. There's setbacks. And my opinion of the match itself really doesn't matter to what the story was being told. And what I want to do here on the podcast this week is really point out the hypocrisy that I hear from a lot of these content creators that will pump up their chest and that, oh, we are allowed to have our opinions and we can say whatever we want because we're fans. Oh, it doesn't matter that Triple H buries us in interviews saying that fans and critics should not have an opinion. Freaking Solid Monster, him sitting on his fucking high horse all the time. He thinks everything he's... Solid Monster, he's that guy that will sit down and look you straight in the face and tell you that everything he says and his outlook in professional wrestling is the gospel, and you can't tell him otherwise. But he's also the same person that'll be snarky towards other people because he didn't get what he wanted and his fantasy booking ideas, and he's just that smarmy, sarcastic twat that will act like his shit don't stink. And I can't be more clear than that. And it's full evidence there. So, everybody's on their high horse now because Triple H is pointing out the fact that the IWC is a bunch of sissy-ass marks who don't have any substance attached to the things they bitch about. And what I'm going to do today is I'm bringing back something that we used to do here on the podcast called the Yacht Club, but it's a remix. It's called the Crybaby Chronicles. And what you're going to hear on the podcast this week from the audio version, before we get to WrestleMania and the questions and everything like that, what we're going to start off today with is an expose of what's wrong with the wrestling media in 2025. And as we go through this process, I want you to open your eyes and ask yourself, is professional wrestling that important for you to lose pop a blood vessel, you know, do damage to your mental health, you know, cause copious amount of stress, or most importantly, is professional wrestling that important to you that you have to become a morose asshole? Because if you want my honest opinion, I don't look at professional wrestling anymore through the lens of a fan anymore. In my heart, I will always be a fan of professional wrestling, but the Joshie you listen to every single week, and the guy that's been doing this podcast for 9 years, and the guy that's been doing these transfers for over a decade, that guy, he doesn't look through it through the lens of a fan anymore because there is no fandom in professional wrestling anymore. Whether you want to believe it or not, people pay their money to go to these shows, but is there really fandom? Because I don't see it that way. The way it's talked about, the way it's the discourse that's on social media, the way people have their outlooks in professional wrestling in 2025, it's not fandom. Because, like, if you want my honest opinion, did I enjoy WrestleMania this year? Did I feel that this was the worst WrestleMania of all time? That I saw tweets all this entire week, or Cody Rhodes and John Cena was the worst main event in the history of WrestleMania? Like, people are telling me that with a straight face, all because The Rock did not show up to Vegas for WrestleMania this year. Strictly because of that, The Rock was not in Vegas, but also we also just going to put a blind eye to it that this was John Cena's last WrestleMania, and he's going for the championship. But all everybody can think about this week and going into WrestleMania and WrestleMania season is The Rock. Excuse me, who was Cody Rhodes fighting and putting his title on the line against at WrestleMania? That would be John Cena, right? Irregardless of how you feel about the Travis Scott involvement, am I clamoring on my feet to see Travis Scott on my screen all the time? No. Did I have to hear Fiend 500 times this past weekend? No. Everybody wants to come on here and act like an expert and be like, oh, Triple H lost the plot this week. Oh, Triple H lost the plot this week. You're the same people that go out of your way to point out how selfish and inconsiderate and everything's about The Rock, and Rock doesn't care about the consequences of things that affect the product or creative, right? That's what I've been hearing this entire week. Oh, The Rock's attempt at damage control went bad on the Pat McAfee show. Oh, The Rock is delusional. The Rock this, The Rock that. You would think that people thought that Cody Rhodes was literally putting his time on the line against The Rock. It was as if John Cena wasn't there. Pun intended. Now ask yourself as you listen to this, does this make any sense to you? Yes, The Rock did the throat slash and the elimination chamber. Yes, The Rock wanted Cody's soul. But as The Rock said loud and clearly, because listening's an issue in the IWC in 2025, he was the conduit to get to the main event of WrestleMania. If this was something that was that important for The Rock to be there physically, or he was going to get the next title shot at SummerSlam or the WrestleMania after it, he would have been there. And I don't think you guys actually really understand that. Oh, let's have John Cena's final WrestleMania match, WrestleMania in general, and his chance to break history. Have all that be pushed to the side because the only thing that matters is what The Rock does. You tell me with the straight face that makes sense. Oh, WrestleMania 41 was ruined because The Rock wasn't involved in the main event when he was never challenging Cody Rhodes for the title in the first place. Why am I the only person seeing through the freaking nonsense? You're the same people that are going all out of your way before the elimination. Oh, I don't want The Rock to be involved in WrestleMania. I don't want The Rock to have anything to do with the WWE. Oh, he's trying to undermine Triple H and his power and his authority in TKO. But The Rock is not at WrestleMania at Allegiant Stadium this past weekend, and oh my God, the sky is falling. I think a lot of you were looking for something to have a fake outrage about this past weekend and wouldn't want to admit it to yourself because we got to get those hits, right? We got to get those likes and retweets. We got to pump up our subscribers and stuff. Guess what, folks? I'm about 37 episodes away from reaching 500 episodes of this Hoots Podcast. We have a little bit over 500 subscribers and about close to 2 million plays on Anchor/Spotify. And guess what? I have not changed who I am or how I go about my discussion about professional wrestling since we started this damn show 9 years ago. For better or worse, where do you think my opinions come from a good place now, or whether you agree or disagree with what I have to say? The one thing that you can't say about this podcast is that Joshie Lopez has never been authentic with how he feels about what's going on in wrestling, good, bad, and different. If you think that I'm not critical enough of the WWE, I think you don't really pay attention. I could come on here and shit on the entire show and be like for example, I did not need to hear Fiend 500 times. I didn't need the New Day and the War Raiders on WrestleMania. I could do that show for you, but guess what? That's every other wrestling podcast. That's negating the point. That's not why I started this podcast in the first place. This is supposed to be a positive place for people to enjoy wrestling for what it is and not act as if everything is about booking at the end of the day. That's why I started the show in the first place with Adam Daly back in 2016. We come on here, we have a non-filtered conversation as if we're sitting in the back porch, shooting the shit or whatever, crack some laughs, maybe share some life advice, and talk about wrestling. The sun's gonna come up tomorrow. I've been doing this show for 9 years. I never had to change how I go about talking about wrestling because, I have experience. People consider me an analyst, so I need to come up with a gimmick like Solid Monster and JD from New York. And I'm not afraid to name names because somebody needs to hold people in this space accountable. And if I have to be that person doing it on the way out, I'm going to be that person. It's nothing personal. I don't have anything personal against JD from New York or Kicking It with Ross or Solid Monster or the rest of the usual suspects or Dave LaGreca from Busted Open, as you're going to hear on this podcast this week. I have nothing personal against those guys. But they need to be held accountable because they think their booking ideas is the gospel when it's not. It's subjective. Guess what, assholes? People are allowed to have a different opinion than you. If you didn't like the fact that The Rock didn't show up at WrestleMania and other people, that didn't bother other people, that shouldn't bother you. You shouldn't go on your Twitter the next week and say, people are brain dead if they think, if they're defending The Rock or they're defending the finish of WrestleMania. Or as Kicking It with Ross this week said, people are just coping. They're coping with the main event. No. It was the wrong decision. Sorry. This is a subjective form of entertainment. There is no right or wrong. I don't have to... Did I love everything that went on with that match? No. But I already know going into that match that people were not going to be happy because guess what? Cody Rhodes was not going to win the match irregardless of fucking Dwayne Rock Johnson, the Tooth Fairy, fucking Hobbs from Fast and Furious, or freaking Hercules showed up at WrestleMania or not. So here's the deal. I knew that going in that Cody Rhodes was going to lose. I threw out an idea last week while doing the podcast with Pat. Shout out to our guy, Patrick Fritz at Rated PWF. And I explained that I threw out an idea about, possibly Seth Rollins coming out and helping John Cena costing Cody Rhodes the championship, right? I didn't mention The Rock because what's more important? What were we celebrating this past weekend? John Cena's final WrestleMania? Or was everything revolving around The Rock, the same person that all of you guys, the usual suspects, always say, The Rock ruins everything. Go away, The Rock, if you're not going to fully commit. Make up your mind. Cody Rhodes was not putting the WWE title on the line against The Rock. So why the hell did he need to be there? Did we need Travis Scott to go out there and be physical in the match? No. But I'm glad that he took a crossroads. See, there's a difference here. I don't need to come on here and shit on the entire WrestleMania experience as a whole because Dwayne The Rock Johnson didn't pop up in the main event of WrestleMania when the main event of WrestleMania was more important about John Cena and breaking the freaking record in the first place. Which also goes back to this whole thing about The Rock taking souls. Or everything John Cena was telling Cody Rhodes before WrestleMania about, you don't have it in you to do what really matters, being the top guy and winning. Wasn't that the whole bit with The Rock? Hey, Cody, I want your soul so I can help elevate you to the next level. They were playing mind games with how Cody saw himself already in where WWE was storyline-wise. Now, if you want to come out here and say, we could have just done this John Cena heel turn at WrestleMania, fine. We could have done that. I wouldn't have a problem with that. You didn't have to do that in the Elimination Chamber. You didn't have to do that in the Elimination Chamber. But here's my thing. And this was really grinding my gears about this whole thing that I've been seeing throughout the entire week. It's just the selfish, ignorant way that people are going about it. Guess what, JD? People can have different opinions of you. If people like the main event of WrestleMania and you didn't, guess what? That's their prerogative. That's not on you to go on your way and say that they're brain dead or they're part of the problem. People can have their opinions. I happen to enjoy WrestleMania. More times than not, when I'm covering these PLEs, I'm not watching it for my personal entertainment or my personal enjoyment or booking like all of you do. I consume professional wrestling because it's my job. It's my career. I'm past the point of, oh, if my favorite didn't win, I think the entire show sucks. That part of my fandom, as Joshie Lopez, died 10 years ago. That doesn't exist for me anymore. That's not why I watch professional wrestling anymore. I always enjoy it in my heart as a fan. I always rep professional wrestling through good times and bad times. But as far as my week-to-week, day-by-day enjoyment and consumption of professional wrestling, it has nothing to do with booking. It has nothing to do with who's screwing over who in the creative or executive side of TKO. I can give two shits. And lastly, for all of you who are acting like your shit don't stink as a content creator, you're doing a disservice to everybody else that wants to do this stuff in the first place because it's supposed to be fun. You want to come out here and have your critiques about the show? Good, that's your prerogative. But coming out here and acting as if your shit don't stink and that everything you say about the business is the gospel, it's just ridiculous. So, we used to do this thing on the show called The Yacht Club, and now what we're going to do is an audio expose of what I'm talking about here in this monologue, in this rant this week. Showcasing the Crybaby Chronicles. This is not going to be a weekly segment, but I thought it fit perfectly for what I've been seeing on social media this week. And then when we come back, I'll give you my other thoughts of what I took away from WrestleMania weekend and Stand and Deliver, and then we'll get to your questions in the Back Porch Q&A session. But as we start off the Crybaby Chronicles, let's start off with the usual suspects. Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez for the Wrestling Observer.
Whatever the story is, whatever the claimed story is, I mean, the fact is, if you look at a lot of WrestleMania, I mean, a lot of that was built towards for a long time. A lot of it made sense, and that Rock thing made no sense, and that Cena thing made no sense. And
in what sense the Cena thing made no sense? I mean, you know what? I mean,
the guy, we had a month of storylines about how he wanted someone's soul. We were like, what the hell is this guy talking about?
That was a week.
That was a week.
That was a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was a month before the show. He showed up.
It was in February.
He showed up. He said, I want this guy's soul. We were like, what the hell is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
And then we had like another week of television, and they replayed it. It's like, what the hell is he talking about? And then you go to the show, and the big story is The Rock tells John Cena to take this guy out, and he does. Why? I don't know. Because it's never explained.
Well,
he never showed up again.
It's not like that was the story. It's not like this was a long-term story.
Exactly, that's my point. That's why people think there's got to be an issue here with Rock and Triple H, because this is not a Triple H book storyline, because it makes no sense. There's no story. It's like Rock showed up and decided he wanted to do something, and they did it. And now it's like, I thought I was just going to, cause John Cena to turn heel after 25 years, and then I was going to disappear, and that's the story. It's like, that's not a story.
But the thing is,
what's happening?
That was not Rock. That was John Cena.
No, the decision that John Cena was going to turn. Okay, so you're telling me the day of the show, John Cena decided that he was going to turn that day. Yeah, that's what you're telling me. Okay, so if he had not,
Yes.
Rock just spent weeks talking about wanting someone's soul.
Yeah.
So you're telling me the show, nothing was going to happen, and he wasn't going to do anything through Mania?
That's why it was going to be. That's why it was going to be the second segment of the show. It was the second. That's why it was scheduled for the second segment.
So what was going to happen? See, or
I figure he would do something.
He was just going to show up and say, "Nope, you don't get my soul," and Rock was just going to go away, and that was going to be it.
It was going to be. He was probably going to get a promo on Cody in some form.
To build what? Allegedly, he was just disappearing the next day and not doing Mania.
To build the turn that would happen at Mania.
He was going to cut a promo on Cody to build a turn at Mania involving another guy, and he wasn't going to be at Mania.
Well, he probably would have been at Mania for that.
But we just said he wasn't going to be at Mania, and you'd always been told he wasn't going to be at Mania.
Yeah, because the whole thing was thrown together at the last minute.
Okay, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, get you a $15 subscription for Wrestling Observer every month. Let's continue on here. Now, as I do this, I'm going to read also things that I've seen as well. Let's start off with this. Graham Matthews at WrestleMania. The timing of this interview is hilarious. Definitely damage control. I reached my breaking point with The Rock a while ago, and this only makes matters worse. Guy doesn't want the spotlight, but randomly returned to clearly put the spotlight on himself and dip. Everyone is to blame in this situation, including Triple H, but it's clearer than ever that Rock returns whenever he wants to do whatever he wants, even if it doesn't benefit the story. John Cena's heel turn actually would have been more shocking without the soul-selling garbage. I generally can't stress enough, Dwayne, please go away. You're good for an occasional pop, but your ego is out of control, and clearly no one will tell you no. I want to be excited about your involvement, but you're actively taken away from the product. Just stop. Let's continue on here. Man, it's just amazing some of the shit that I had to sift through and read. Oh, how about this? The coach, Jonathan Coachman, now he's doing wrestling podcasts with Vince Russo because, hey, we know Vince Russo is very fair and objective about pro wrestling in 2025, right? Let's listen to what the coach has to say.
I won't take long, but I was waiting for Pat McAfee today. The Rock, who was not advertised at all of a sudden, late last night, he's advertised to be on Pat McAfee. It screams several things. A, TKO called The Rock to say, you got to do damage control. We are getting absolutely shredded across the board. There's never been a finish in any night, especially the main night on WrestleMania, that's been universally panned than this one right here. Worst inning of all time. And then for The Rock, and this hurts me to say because I love him so much, for people who don't know, he was the person I was on TV first in my career in the WWE. For him to go on Pat McAfee and say, I didn't want the spotlight on me, I wanted it on John Cena. What? You had to know. He is so smart. He had to know that by not showing up, by not tweeting, by not posting, by not saying anything, now all of the focus is now on you. And the questions are why? What happened? Are you fighting with Triple H? Are you fighting with somebody else? Those are all the questions everybody is asking today. It's not, hey, congratulations to John Cena on number 17. We're not that stupid. There is something going on behind the scenes. The Rock is on the board of directors. The Rock got a $30 million and then another one big payment to come back and be a major part of what the WWE is doing. He was out there January 6th on the debut of Netflix. He was out there when John Cena turned heel because he asked for his soul. He was the one. So for 2.5 months, not a post, not a peep, not a video, when a year ago he used social media to his advantage. And we're supposed to believe that? I don't know what's going on, but something is going on. I've been around enough backstage to know when creatively you don't get along, they're not getting along. And The Rock somehow wanted to make a statement. Well, statement made loud and clear. Now they're doing cleanup. And that was not it.
All right, that's the coach. Let's continue on here. Oh, Voices of the Marks. So TNA sent their world champion to be a jobber for Randy Orton in a 2-minute match. Get ready, Triple H, you're next. Dumb tweet. Let's continue on. Well, we'll get to this last clip here that I wanted to play. Dave LaGreca from Busted Open never wants to be a clout chaser, right, LaGreca?
Now that everybody's bitching and moaning about the end of WrestleMania 41, The Rock is going to go on Pat McAfee, who has the biggest show in sports talk radio. You're going to go on his show and say, yeah, I would have done it differently. Yeah, I would have adjusted some things. I would have been nice to hear from you now, pal. It's over. So now that everybody's bitching and complaining, yeah, I would have done it differently. But really, you talk about a Monday morning quarterback. That's a Tuesday morning quarterback. Thanks, pal. Didn't make yourself available. Didn't show up at WrestleMania. But now I'm going to say, yeah, I would have done things differently. You talk about completely throwing Triple H under the bus. That's exactly what The Rock did. You know what you say if you're The Rock? You know what? I thought they did an awesome job. Or you know what? Don't say anything at all. But by saying that, you just threw Triple H under the bus. If you're not going to be there and you didn't take part of it, then you shouldn't say anything about it. Now, if he was part of the creative process and he was there, then you could say, I think we, because he's part of the fucking company. No, but he doesn't mind saying I would have done things differently. I would have adjusted things. He loves saying we when it's successful. But when it's not, he's going to be like, I would have. I.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is what I like to call the Crybaby Chronicles. When we come back, I'll review WrestleMania 41 and my experience covering the show, plus some stuff from NXT Stand and Deliver, and then we'll answer your questions for this week's edition of the Back Porch Q&A session right here on episode 462 of the Hoots Podcast. So we are back. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hoots Podcast. Time to get into this week in WWE as we partake into my experience of covering WrestleMania 41. This past week, I was back at my original home on Superior Street. Was watching over my mom's dog, Thumper, a Great Dane. Great little, not little, but she's a tank. She's a large ass. But I had a great time with Dumpy. I was babysitting her because my mom went out to vacation this past week, so I went to hang out at my old house for a week, and that's where I got to cover WrestleMania this past weekend. I'm not gonna lie, it's deflating. It's it's kind of a gut punch professionally. Get wrong, like personally wise, like I'm in good spirits. Like I feel like things are making progress. I did my taxes, all the stuff that I need to worry about is out the window now. So I'm in good spirits, Like I'm happy with the pick that the Bears got last night for the NFL draft as I'm recording this with Colston Loveland. And all in all, if you ask me, Joshie, how was your WrestleMania weekend? I would say it was good. It was busy. I had a lot of shows this past week to do. It all started from the SmackDown before WrestleMania, both nights of WrestleMania, Stand and Deliver, Monday Night Raw, NXT, and Evolve. So that's 8 shows in 5 days or something like that. It was a lot. My fingers have been hurting a lot this week, but if you ask my opinion, like, hey, Joshie, how was your WrestleMania week? Did you enjoy your show? Did you enjoy getting to covering shows? Was it good, bad, and different on your end? I had a really good time. I enjoyed it. Yeah, on the inside, I wish I was there. I not to be like one of those people like, oh, I should be on the stage of the where they had. I thought it was pretty cool that they had fans sitting on the stage by Xfinity, the little lounge areas. I thought that was pretty cool. Like how awesome to be right there on the stage of WrestleMania, right? Watching it. I think that's cool. I think they're doing some cool stuff business-wise to help expand the reach of the company. I think that's cool. But, it's just like, just knowing myself and how long I've been doing this stuff and how long I've been doing this podcast and how long I've been busting my ass and grinding and, making sure these transcripts stand out. I really wish I was there in Vegas this weekend. I should have been there, but I wasn't. So I really tried my best to just keep my focus on what's important and making sure to give out the best transcripts that I could. And I'm very humbled by to see how high my articles ranked this past weekend for WrestleMania. Really, really meant a lot to me, and it's really showing that my work does stand out because we have every major publication from CBS Sports to ESPN to Forbes, etc., covering this event. Even big, popular local news associations covering the event. And to see my article ranked as high as it was for both nights of WrestleMania, hell, even the entire weekend, even the Stand and Deliver show, it was really, really humbling. It was like I got the validation that I needed this weekend to see those articles ranked as high as it did, or seeing the numbers that we did for last week's podcast, which was awesome, like a little bit more than 25,000 listeners for the podcast, and now we're 10,000 listeners away from reaching 2 million on Anchor, which is insane. But I'm not gonna lie, I wish I was there, guys. I should be at these events. I should be at WWE World. I should be at the press box at these events. I don't know why I'm not. I don't know why they did not put the credential forms out there to apply this year. I know the outlet that I work for kind of limits my opportunities to do the stuff that I want to do, which just sucks. But all I can do is allow my work to speak for itself. You know what I mean? So I had a blast. The show itself, I thought it was good. Obviously, it was going to be very hard to top what WrestleMania 40 was. I mean, it's WrestleMania 40 after all. But I'm not going to come on here and be like, oh, WrestleMania 41 was a major disappointment. Like, I saw a lot of people who were, like, shitting on night one for whatever reason. I enjoyed night one. Jade Cargill and Naomi, they had a really good physical match. I was kind of worried that the fans were just going to sit on their hands and stuff, but I think towards the end of that match, they were getting a "This is awesome" chant, if I'm not mistaken. So Jade Cargill and Naomi, I thought was good. Started off with Jay and Gunther getting the crowd going. Jay winning the championship and celebrating with his brother. I thought that was a great way to kick off the show. I guess a lot of people are shitting on the New Day and War Raiders match. It wasn't bad, but it's just something that did not need to be on the show. Obviously, you could have put the TLC match that we're having tonight on SmackDown on there, but you know what? Again, like I said when I was saying in the previous segment, like I don't let that stuff just like cloud and dictate how I talk about the rest of the show. You know what I mean? Well, this should happen. Well, that should happen. Like, what does it matter at the end of the day? You know what I mean? Guess what? Tonight I get to cover a TLC match. That's awesome. Would I love to see that on WrestleMania? Sure. Great. But guess what? It's happening. It's not like it's not happening. Or this whole week. Look, I'm a Bayley fan. I love Bayley as much as anybody else does in the WWE Universe. But you guys would think that she got killed or she got released this week. Holy crap, man. Like, I get it. She did the interview with Chris Van Vliet, and you can tell something was off or why she was replaced by Becky Lynch. It makes sense. Becky Lynch was there to turn heel on Lyra, so she has a challenge for the IC title. But, yeah, and here's the thing other people don't really bring up. Okay, let's say Bayley had her match with Roxanne Perez, right, at one of the nights of WrestleMania. And then that match happens, and people are sitting on their hands. Are we still having this conversation that, Triple H doesn't care about Bayley, and now people are loving Bruce Pritchard, because anything that doesn't go through the IWC's lens, if the IWC don't get what they want, it's always Bruce Pritchard's fault, right? It's like clockwork. So, I'm reading all this stuff about Bayley this weekend. You would think the girl got released, or she's getting buried, or she's being punished, and yeah, she missed WrestleMania. Okay, it happens. I'm gonna want Bayley to be out there for people to not give a shit about the match, and I hate to be honest, but frankly, people would have sit on their hands if that match were to happen. Roxanne wouldn't have had enough time to establish herself. Yes, these two have had a rivalry on NXT, and yes, they would have had a really good match. Nobody's taking that away from them. But everybody's like, oh, you could have built this up, you could have built this up. It's so easy to all you minuscule IWC diehard twats to think that you can just build anything up in 3 weeks. It doesn't work that way. So yes, Bayley missed WrestleMania, but guess what? She's not buried. She's not getting released. And if she's that upset, then go! Leave! Request your release. Holy shit, man. WrestleMania was not ruined by me for the fact that Bayley was not on the card. I hate if that bothers you, but we got more important shit to worry about. We had an unfortunate injury happen to Rey Mysterio. Ended up being Phoenix to replace Rey in his match with El Grande Americano. I was looking forward to that match. And I thought, El Americano and Phoenix made the best out of the bad situation. But I thought their match was alright. Obviously, it'd be a lot better with a lot more time towards it. But, it's kind of it's one of those things where you have an injury, and it's really so much you can do about it. Yes, that was Phoenix's first loss, but it was by nefarious means, and it's because Chad Gable keeps using this metal plate in his mask and loading it up. I thought LA Knight and Jacob Fatu was probably one of the best mid-card matches from the weekend. Very, very good stuff from LA and Jacob Fatu, so congratulations go out to Jacob Fatu for becoming your new United States champion. Very good match. I enjoyed that a lot. Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. Now, this is, I guess, one of the reasons why a lot of people were crapping on night one. Was it the most crisp and technically sound wrestling matches of the weekend? No. It was a fight. I liked the physicality, especially on Charlotte's end. I think a little bit of nerves was showcased by Tiffany Stratton. I feel like a little bit of the moment got the best of her throughout the match, to be honest with you. But I wasn't bored by the match. Is this a match that people are going to be fond of or reflecting on years from now? Probably not. But I enjoyed it for what it was. Tiffany got the victory. I wouldn't have minded if Charlotte won, but whether people are always going to have a conspiracy theory or things to say or a narrative regarding Charlotte and stuff like that, and that is what it is, Oh, Charlotte is sandbagging Tiffany on his finish, and it's Charlotte's fault that they had a bad match at WrestleMania. I didn't think they had a bad match. It was physical. You have the grudge feud. Sometimes professional wrestling is going to look sloppy at times. You're not in the ring. You never wrestled, so how are you going to come on here and be like, oh, it's too sloppy for me? It wasn't that sloppy. It was a physical fight. That's what it was, and that's what it needed to be. Charlotte and Tiffany did not need to be Kenny Olivier and Will Ospreay or Okada Omega, That's not what that match needed to be. But Tiffany won. I think we still have some unfinished business between the two, so I wouldn't be surprised if those two fight each other at Backlash, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. what else before we get to the main event? Yes, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins, the triple threat match, main event for night 1. I'm not gonna lie, I got choked up seeing CM Punk's video package before he got to do the entrance with Living Color. Seeing that this fire is burning that they did was awesome. I mean, no bones about it. Punk's my favorite wrestler of all time besides The Undertaker. So to see him finally have his moment, I got emotional seeing it. I'm so happy for him. I really hope it was everything that he wanted it to be. Yes, he did not win the match, but I thought he looked fantastic in the match. And I said this before objectively, as somebody that's covered professional wrestling with a lot of different promotions over the last 10 years, some people were like, oh, this match has too many multi-person people in it, right? Too many triple threats, too many fatal four-ways and stuff like that. I think this weekend truly showed that nobody lays out triple threat matches or multi-person matches better than the WWE. Whether it was this match or the one with Io, Bianca, and Rhea Ripley to start off night 2, the match was fantastic. I'll give you my top 5 matches that I enjoyed transcribing the most at the end of the segment for WrestleMania. But for me, especially for night 1, I thought every beat needed to be hit, and it did. The stuff with Paul Heyman towards the end of the match was fantastic. I guess the writing was on the wall for Heyman to be with Seth Rollins all along, which I don't have a problem with it. Obviously, they got this new group now with Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins, and Braun Breaker, which is going to be pretty cool going forward. But as far as punking his first main event of WrestleMania, I thought it was a fun match. I hope it was everything that he wanted it to be, and I just couldn't be happier for Phil Brooks, honestly. I can't thank him enough for the inspiration for the man that he is and what he stands for, making the city proud and everything. Thank you, Punk, and I'm glad that you got the spot that you deserved this entire time. So, hey, like he said to Daniel Cormier the next night, this probably won't be the only main event of WrestleMania that he has before he retires. So, shout out to Punk for having your first WrestleMania main event. You killed it, my man. We'll go to night 2 with Io, Bianca, and Rhea Ripley. Triple threat match for the Women's World Championship. I have to say, for me, that is that's probably the best female triple threat match that I've ever transcribed at WrestleMania. I think this one was better than the one that Charlotte and Sasha had with Becky Lynch at 32. This match was just fucking gangbusters from the time the bell rang to the time it came to the end. The physicality, the sequences, I can't give that match enough praise. Obviously, it's been universally put over by the entire collective wrestling fan base, which is rightfully deserved. But those ladies killed it, man. It was definitely one of the best openers for WrestleMania of all time. Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, the Cinch Street Fight was fantastic. Love the physicality again. Seeing Kerry King from Slayer get to do that as a guitar player and lover of music and Slayer and stuff like that. That was really cool to see. Very good match. I'll say that. Very, very good match. And then night 2, I thought collectively was the better night from an in-ring standpoint and show flow. I already gone over nauseam about the whole stuff with Cody Rhodes and John Cena. We don't need to get into that. I will say, though, for this segment, this part of the show, John Cena and Randy Orton for Backlash is going to be pretty dope. And I don't want to hear anybody say, oh, really, we're going to rehash John Cena and Randy Orton again? While you guys are marking out for Edge and Christian to reunite in AEW. Let's chill, let's cool off with the hypocrisy hot takes, alright? Let's take a chill pill on those. But I thought collectively night 2 was a better one than night 1. Overall, WrestleMania for me this year, I'd probably give it a B+, if you want my honest opinion. It was going to be very hard to top last year's WrestleMania, but if you want my opinion collectively for the matches and everything that I covered for both nights, I would give WrestleMania this year for 41 a B+, and I think that's being fair. Or a solid B. You know, we had the rest of the show going on. Joe Henry coming out to be a regular surprise opponent. Very, very cool moment. I'm very happy for Joe Henry. Very, very well deserved. I thought that was pretty cool. Joe Henry taking on Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Let me pull up something really quick here as we record this. Just give me 1 second. Alright. Night 2 results. Yes. The 4-way for the Intercontinental Championship. Brock Breaker, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and Penta. Fantastic match. Happy for Dominic. Got big crowd reception from the Universe in Vegas. The match was shorter than I thought it was going to be, but props go out to Dominic Mysterio. Very good match, and congratulations to him becoming the IC champion, just like his dad was. So right now, Dominic's been a North American champion, a tag team champion with his dad in the past, and now an Intercontinental champion. The last thing Dominic needs to do to really solidify himself as the best Mysterio of all time is becoming a world champion. So we'll see if Dominic will be one of those guys participating for the Money in the Bank ladder match this year. By the way, a couple things before we get to the rest of this WrestleMania review. Very cool announcement over the weekend to see WWE purchasing AAA. They got a Worlds Collide special taking place on June 7th during the day, plus Money in the Bank at the Intuit Dome. It's gonna be a fun day of wrestling. 2 pay-per-views on the same day. Like, I'm not gonna say no to that. Give me the money. I'll do 2 pay-per-views a day. I don't give a shit. That's a great day of business. So, Money in the Bank and Worlds Collide will be the first WWE AAA co-event show taking place in Los Angeles on June 7th. That's going to be awesome. And also, I saw the announcement that Survivor Series is going to be in Petco Park this year in San Diego. West Coast getting a lot of PLEs this year. I don't know if they're going to come to Chicago for another one. We'll have to see. But back to WrestleMania. Anybody saying that Joe Henry and TNA were made to look fools at WrestleMania is just, like, come on. Like, you have your world champion accepting the match against Randy Orton. I don't know what other bigger rub you can get than that. Not only for him collectively as a performer, but TNA as a brand. You guys had a spotlight at WrestleMania. Like, come on. Logan Paul and AJ Styles. I really enjoyed this match. I really did. I know the crowd wasn't giving us too much of a reception to it, maybe because they didn't like the storyline going into it or whatever, but I thought for a match purpose, I thought this was one of the better matches throughout the weekend. If you want like a textbook 101 clean wrestling match, like this is the one for you. I thought Logan and AJ had a very good match. I mentioned Becky Lynch cut back to win the tag titles from Judgment Day. They dropped the titles the night after on Raw, and Becky turned on Lyra Valkyria. So Becky feuding with Lyra Valkyria and having her become the IC champion is going to do really good things for that championship. And you know, who knows? Maybe Becky Lynch joins this new Dangerous Alliance. So something to look out for. And then, of course, we have John Cena and Cody Rhodes, and I talked about that at the beginning of the show. Alright, so that was WrestleMania. Like I said, for me personally, from an enjoyment standpoint and transcribing the show, I'll give WrestleMania 41 this year a B+ or a B. It's a regular B. So that's my grade for WrestleMania this year. And then, before we get to the questions, I do want to talk about Stand and Deliver, because I thought Stand and Deliver was a fantastic show from top to bottom. Stand and Deliver was freaking phenomenal. Let me get the matches from that show. Just give me 1 second, please. Oh, by the way, congratulations to Wade Barrett for his first WrestleMania, calling the entire show on commentary instead of just doing the kickoff show, which is pretty cool. So, congratulations go out to Wade Barrett on that. Let's go to Stand and Deliver here real quick. All right. Here we go. This show is at the T-Mobile Arena. Ricky Saints defeated Ethan Page to kick off the show. Very, very good physical match. I really like the counters in this match. Ricky Saints is doing some good stuff on NXT so far in this run. He's putting the title against Lexis King when they return to Orlando next week. So that match will be for the North American Championship. Ricky Saints against Ethan Page. That should be a good match. One of my favorite matches from the weekend was Hank and Tank against Fraxton for the NXT Tag Team titles. We have new champions. That was one of the best tag matches that I did this year. That was a lot of fun. The ladder match for the vacated Women's North American Championship. Congratulations go out to the beautiful and sexy Sol Ruca. Yes, I say sexy because that girl's waterfalls on another level. Dark State defeated the D'Angelo family in a 6-man tag. Tough spot to put this match on the card given everything that's going on, but I thought the guys did an impressive show for their first big match on the stage like that. This match was Stacks turning his back on Tony D'Angelo. Luca Crucifino was missing on NXT this week, so we got some Mafia warfare going on with Stacks and Tony D, and I'm here for it, so we'll see where this one goes. The Fatal 4-Way with the women, fantastic match. Stephanie Van Keur. I'm going to declare it this weekend. Stephanie Van Keur right now is probably the best female wrestler in the entire business today. She's that damn good. She's on another level. I thought Jada Parker had a really good showing in this match as well. But that women's 4-way match for the NXT Women's Championship was very good. It's Stephanie is still your champion. And in the main event, the best match for this show as a whole, Obafemi against Trick Williams and Javon Evans. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to check it out. The Moolah is still the NXT champion. And Obafemi had a confrontation with Joe Hendry on NXT this week, so I don't know if that match is going to be taking place at Battleground. That is the next pay-per-view for NXT, which will be May 25th. So that whole weekend we're going to do Saturday night's main event. We got a Battleground show, and then Raw. That's going to be a busy weekend, but I'm ready to cover those shows. So Stand and Deliver. Fantastic event, fantastic PLE. Now, I promised I was going to give you my top 5 matches for WrestleMania this year, and I'll do it in order, okay? Number 1 for me is going to go to CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins, not only for the match purposes, but story and everything in between, and I am biased, but I have to say Punk, Roman, and Seth is number 1 for me. Number 2, obviously, is the Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley triple threat match of the Women's World Championship. Number 3, I'll give that to Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest for the Street Fight, Sin City Street Fight. Number 4, I'll give that to LA Knight and Jacob Fatu for the United States Championship. And then number 5 for me I'm going to go with Jey Uso and Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. So those are my top 5 matches from WrestleMania this year. And that is what happened this week in WWE. When we come back, we got one more segment to do here on this big size edition of the Hoots Podcast. We'll have the Back Porch Q&A session right here on episode 262 of the Hoots Podcast as the road to 500 continues. That's right, folks. We have 37 more episodes to go. And appreciate the ride, ladies and gentlemen. And let's answer your questions next, right here on THP. We're back. Alright, guys. One more segment to do here on the podcast at Hoots this week. Time to talk about your questions. That's right. Time for the Back Porch Q&A session. Back Porch Q&A. Hold on. It's the Back Porch Q&A sessions. I'm sorry, guys. That's such a long week. Welcome, everybody, to the Back Porch Q&A session here on the Hoots Podcast. Time to answer your questions. As always, as we do tradition, you can send us a question at the Hoots Podcast on X or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. It's the best way to participate in this segment. And also, don't forget to hit the like button and smash the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. It's one of the most 1,000 subscribers. Also, don't forget to follow and stream the podcast on Spotify. That really will help us expand the reach of the show each and every week. So I appreciate everybody that does that. Also, let's take a look at this right now, shall we? As we do here on the podcast every week, let's throw up the X for the good brother Chris Zaletta at Xing24X on the Twitter machine. Let's see what Chris has for us this week. He says, "What up, Boost? Here's some questions for the Q&A this week. Thoughts on the acquisition on I'm excited for it. This is long overdue, and I'm just glad that this is kind of away from the Tony Khan play chess realm. So, good decision there. Who from NXT would you pick to face Vikingo at Worlds Collide? Well, this looks like this could be like an NXT versus Triple A type of thing. So I'm going to go with either Javon Evans or Axiom. That would be my pick for that one. Your thoughts on Dark State in-ring work over the last few outings? I like what I've seen from them so far. They are pretty good for what they are. You know, they're young, they're PC talent, so I like what I see so far. How will Tony D Stacks feud end when we get to that point? Well, either Stacks reveals himself as leader of Dark State, and this is how they write Tony D off of television and off to the main roster. That's probably how I see it going on for me. Thoughts on the Rusev return? Pretty cool. I'm happy for Rusev, long overdue. I'm glad to see it back in the fold, and hopefully we get to see Lana on our screens too. But that's just me. Favorite match from each Mania night? For me, my favorite match from Saturday was the triple threat with Punk, Roman, and Seth. And then Sunday, my favorite match was John Cena and Cody Rhodes. Okay. My favorite match from Sunday was either the triple threat with Bianca, Rhea, and Io, or the street fight with Priest and McIntyre. Best match to stand and deliver is the triple threat with Obafemi, Javon Evans, and Trick Williams, or the four-way with or the tag match with Tank and Fraxian. Do you think we get Oba and Joe Henry title for title in the future? I won't say title for title, but I think they might fight each other at Battleground. I want to see how that plays out. Thoughts on the Karrion Kross post-Mania promo? I loved it. I've always been a fan of Killer Kross, and I think he spoke from the heart and let his frustrations out. You know, do something about it. Your actions will mean more than anything than running to the dirt sheets or interviewers for sympathy for creative decisions. So, I loved it. I thought he did a great job. We saw the red sweatshirt back on Tuesday. What will Mr. Chase have up his sleeve for the likely new Chase U class? We'll have to tune in and watch. I hate to give you that type of answer, Chris, but it's the truth. I have no idea. I really don't. But I am glad that Chase U is coming back. So that's my thoughts on that. How many trades take place in the top 10 of the during the draft? Well, I'm recording this on Friday morning, so I already saw what happened. We only had that first trade with the Browns and Jaguars, which I thought the Browns fleeced the Jaguars. But they did get Travis Hunter. Will that mean anything for the Jaguars? We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not really sure about it. I thought they gave up way too much draft capital for just a guy that can't decide what position he wants to play. You only make those type of plays that high for a quarterback. I really thought they were going to go with Shedeur Sanders and shock everybody and give Trevor Lawrence some competition, but that wasn't the case. Do you think this could be Seth's version of evolution or possibly something else more? Yes. Absolutely. Especially with Triple H and his experience and him running the ship now. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely, I can see that being the case. Heyman has Seth Braun. Does this expand? If so, who else would you add? Does a female or two get added? I wouldn't mind either. You could put Becky. You could put A-Tom down under if you still want to keep them as a tag team under that group. You could probably do that if you want. That's probably my best guess for that question. But I thank you, Bert, for the questions this week as always. Make sure to follow Chris on Twitter at XTeams24X on Twitter. And our last batch of questions this week comes from the good brother Mike Rubio at Main Event Swerve. He says, "What up, Oos? WrestleMania week was quite oosy, and there's a lot to talk about this week. Here's some questions for you, good brother. Lana signed a Legends deal with WWE recently. Legends. Isn't she like 40, slightly older than Carmella, and not too far in age from Bianca Belair?" I get what you're saying, but it's also like the age expectancy of the female performance. It's not like you're going to see. It's rarity with Trish Stratus kind of getting closer to 50 or Alita, something like that. So, yeah, in this context, yeah, would I call Lana a legend yet? Probably not, but apples and oranges, I'm not really going to lose sleep over it. Hey, she's back in the fold, and that's the contract that she signed in. Her and Rusev were a big act, and it doesn't feel like it, but it was 10 years ago, so I guess enough time has passed for her to be put in that category discussion, but I get what you're saying. It's just something I'm not really going to lose sleep over, honestly. Former Bears receiver Dez White is announcing the team's pick for this year's draft. Does that name ring a bell for you? It does not. I know that Seth Rollins is making a pick for the Bears tonight, which I'm looking forward to. That should be pretty cool. Do you feel Mercedes Monet's puppet is more stupid than beneficial? Yes. I'm not even going to read the rest of this. It's yes. He says, I feel like downgrades the whole CEO character if it is credible to begin with. Look, I've been very transparent on my whole thoughts and the whole thing with Mercedes Monet in AEW. Yeah, she's a great wrestler. I have nothing personal against her at all. She's great to look at, obviously, but her whole presentation is, woe is me, I didn't become the face of the women's division in WWE, so let me latch on every little title that Tony Khan will convince other promoters to give to her to inflate her ego. And that's really what it is with this presentation. They puppet aside, her presentation in AEW has been a pure and utter flop, and I don't care what anybody else has to say about it. What are your thoughts on the first WWE Hall of Fame memorial moment between Stone Cold and Bret Hart? Would you have chosen another moment to start with, or were you fine with that call? I'm fine with that call. It's definitely one of the best WrestleMania matches of all time, and Chicago's being put on the spotlight, so I have no problem with that. Stephanie McMahon has 3 rules for guests on her podcast, and one of them is no douchebags. Dana White was her first guest. Did she break her own rule early? I guess we all have different interpretations of douchebags. Obviously Dana has been good friends with Stephanie and the McMahon family for a long time, so I get what you're saying. Yes, Dana Dana White can be a twat sometimes, but I guess you could say she broke her rule. But again, if Dana White's a friend to her, she's gonna have a different outlook on that, obviously. Did you think that Tiffany had lost a tooth in the WrestleMania match, or did you know she was okay the whole time? Well, I know the match was physical. If she lost a tooth in the match, then she lost a tooth. But if she didn't, that's the case. I mean, everybody was talking about how sloppy the match was. I was just enjoying the physicality of it all. We haven't seen Tiffany in that type of physicality match. Like, she fought Becky. They had that no DQ match, which was really good a couple years ago at No Mercy. For NXT No Mercy, I think that was in like Bakersfield, California, or something like that a couple years ago. But like a straight up grudge feud match without weapons involved. This was the first time that Tiffany was in that knockout, drag out type of scenario, and like I think her nerves got the best of her. Like you saw the knot on her forehead, and it was a physical match. But whether she lost her tooth, I really do not know. If she's good now, then it's fine. What do you think of Bayley's removal from WrestleMania? Also, did you catch her interview with Chris Van Lee where she revealed displeasure at her booking in the company? I didn't watch the whole interview. I've seen the clips float around on X all week, and again, I love Bayley. I have a lot of respect for her. I've always enjoyed her work, but I'm not going to run and have sympathy for performers that run to dirt sheet type of people. And I'm not saying that Chris Van Vliet is a dirt sheet guy. I've always respected him. He's a great dude, and I've had the pleasure to interview him in the past. But my sympathy card goes out the window when you're groping about creative on those type of platforms. Do something about it. And again, I throw it out there. Okay, Bayley's on the WrestleMania card. Does that change anything for people sitting on their hands? They sat on their hands before. She's got to make a decision for herself. I think she used that interview with Chris Van Vliet to make it a case for herself, and that she wants to request her release. And if you don't want to be in the company, just say that. I'm not going to hold that against her. If she doesn't want to be there, then she doesn't have to be there. Also, does Bayley compare to the other four horsewomen? And if so, what makes her stand out the most in that conversation? Is she a stone cold lead pipe lock for the Hall of Fame? Yeah, she's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think what makes her stand out is her reliability. And I thought for the most part Bayley's about letting her work speak for herself, but now it's like now she wants to talk about her creative and stuff like that. This is timing involved. It's just strange. It looks like Sasha Banks is getting in her head again. What kind of splash do the Bears make in tonight's draft? Also, who has the better chance of making the playoffs in your opinion, the Bears or the Cowboys? I'm going to go with the Cowboys because the NFL is desperate to have the Cowboys in the conversation, and the Cowboys played like shit last year, so I'm going to say the Cowboys. And I can't say the Bears yet because until they get the we stink stench off of them, Mike, I can't say that they're making the playoffs. Were you surprised at the crowd's positive turn for Dominic winning the IC title? Is he a true babyface somehow, or did I miss something with the change? I'm not truly surprised. It's a WrestleMania crowd, so is that going to translate to all the crowds going over the next couple of months going into the summer? We'll have to see. That's the litmus test, but we'll have to see. What ticket seems more worth it to you, and why? A ticket to see Kendrick Lamar and SZA like midway up into the crowd, or Eddie and Knight of WrestleMania in the nosebleed seats? I'll go with Kendrick and SZA because I've been to 6 WrestleManias already, and I don't want to be in the nosebleeds for another show. So I'll go with Kendrick and SZA, but that's a good question. Can you please explain how Joe Henry wasn't squashed at WrestleMania? Educate some of these dopes out there, please. Yes, Joe Henry was not squashed. You want to talk about making a company look bad or whatever? Look at how AEW treated TNA, and the rest speaks for itself. Do you see when Triple H was talking to AAA Mexico president about Worlds Collide? Did that look more like a hostage situation or a Weekend at Bernie's moment? I wouldn't look at it as a hostage situation. And I did not see Weekend at Bernie's, and I know I'm ashamed to say that because I'm a How I Met Your Mother fan, and they reference that a lot. But I never saw Weekend at Bernie's, so I don't have the proper answer to that. I gotta be honest. Also, someone said the company's president looked like the villain from The Queen of the South. I can see that. Do you see a resemblance between her and the telenovela character? Yes, for sure. She looks like a girl that takes no shit from anybody. So I can definitely see that. That's a great comparison. Triple H said that the company always has the plan at the WrestleMania. So what are some SummerSlam matches and storylines you might be thinking about? Take care, Oos, and I'll talk to you guys running up to next week. Well, if I'm mapping out SummerSlam from now, a lot of people say that like Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill is a match that you do at a WrestleMania. Can they find a way to make that happen throughout a calendar year, 242? We'll have to see. If I had to pick off the top of my head, I'll go with CM Punk and Roman Reigns 1-on-1, Seth Rollins and Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. You would think John Cena would be on the show too, right? That's the thing. We got to see who would be a right baby face to fight John Cena at SummerSlam. That's the question, though. God, that's a stumper, man. I would have to see who gets switched from where on the draft, because I think there's something there where maybe Drew McIntyre becomes a face or something. You could do John Cena and Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. I think that'd be pretty cool. That's a really good question, Mike. I'm not there yet, but like, I'm stuck with like the women's matches and stuff like that. Like, I'm gonna have to give it some more time there. But you know, for example, let's say like we have like Fraxium against the Machine Guns, or Fraxium against the Street Profits, or something like that. I think Gunther will fight Goldberg at SummerSlam. I think that'll be Goldberg's last match, so Gunther will be there. Or maybe it's Sami Zayn against Jey Uso, right? We'll see. But that's a very good question, man. I appreciate it. It says, take care, Houston. I'll talk to you guys running up to next week. I appreciate you, Mike. Make sure to follow Mike on Twitter at Main Event Swerve. I appreciate you, brother, as always. And I know we're going to put a ribbon on the bow in this week's edition of the podcast. I want to thank y'all for hanging out with me this week. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast, on X, Instagram at Joshie Lopez Music. Make sure to check out my transcripts and the results section of WrestlingHeadlines.com. And tonight I'll be doing the SmackDown after WrestleMania, so be on the lookout for that. And a couple weeks from now, we'll have Backlash from St. Louis. My birthday's coming up soon, May 7th. Looking forward to it. But I don't know, we're going to put a rib on the bow in this week's edition of the Hoots Podcast. I love everybody, man. Have a great weekend. Remember, folks, be the authentic product that is yourself. Remember, nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself and the man upstairs. I'm Joshie. This has been episode 462 of the Hoots Podcast as the road to 500 continues. And we'll talk to you next week. I'm out. Yeet.
Bye-bye, bitch.